All right. What is up, people? Hello, hello. Cool. Just making sure my audio works. Sometimes I hit the button right here that you see blinking. Oh, wait, you guys might not see it. Yeah, you don't see it. There's a button right here and it's blinking. And sometimes I hit that button and it turns my audio off. So, but we're going to get started here in just a minute, everyone. So just hold tight. It's not quite 7:30 yet, but just do me a favor if you guys are excited to learn how Rob is closing 20 to 50 appointments, or setting at least 20 to 50 appointments per month. I want you to write hell yes or something in the comments saying you're ready to learn how to do this, because Rob is one of the best that I've seen as far as sales is concerned. He's got several, tons of successful students going through his program, and all he focuses on is selling and how to actually sell SMMA services. He's built a whole business and community around that as well, and he's one of my great friends. I love Rob, dude. He's a great guy. Definitely someone I even learn from, because when it comes to sales, he really knows what he's doing. That's all he's studied and really tried to master over the last couple of years. And I think he's done an amazing job at what he does. And the proof is in his results with his students and with his own agency. So I'm excited to bring him on for you guys. He's actually in Atlanta. And he's coming over to my office on Saturday. He and I are going to meet up. We're going to produce a bunch of content, but also we talked about putting together a sales related program on how to get clients between him and I. Do you guys have any interest in, it would be a cheaper program, something super affordable for I'm talking between $10 to $100, somewhere in there. But it'd be about sales and landing SMMA clients. Do any of you have any interest in something like that from me and Rob? Or actually, I guess better question, do you guys know who Robb Quinn is? Before I even get in there, I've talked about him, several times on some different videos that we've done, because he and I do a lot of collaboration. He's actually going to be a little bit late because he's probably finishing a sales call. It's either that or he's talking with his accountant. So I'm just making sure that he knows where to go when he gets done. But he will be on tonight, so no worries, guys. And it's going to be a really cool talk with him and I, because, guys, I'm telling you, he has a very specific process that he uses, and it just works. He's actually helping me implement some of the same structures that he has that I don't currently have into my own business. And he's been doing some sales related training with my sales rep that we've brought into the agency. So I'm super excited to show you guys what he has. No, this product would be completely separate of DMS 2.0. So this would be a completely separate purchase, because Rob does not get any of the income from DMS 2.0. So if he and I create a product, we kind of have to sell it separate. But again, it's going to be super affordable. It'll be anywhere between $10 to $100. And I promise you guys, you'll probably want the product that we put together, because I can only imagine between him and I sitting down and coming up with a sales related training of some kind, that something amazing would come out of it. But hello, everybody who has said hello. Applying to internships before I take on clients. Will there be a replay? Yep, there's always a replay. So all you have to ever do is go to my channel and you can find all the live replays. Those will always be there. A couple of you would be interested in seeing it, so that's good. So let me go ahead and tell you guys to do this. If you have sales related questions, I want you to go ahead and put them in the chat, so that way when Rob does get here, we can go straight into answering your questions about landing clients. Whether it's from, understanding the process. Like, we have a specific talk. We're going to talk about his process that he uses to get 20 to 50 appointments per week, whether it be for his agency or for clients of his or whoever. So we're going to talk about that. But if you guys have specific questions that you would like answered as well, then I want to make sure that we get to those too. So make sure to leave those in the chat so that way, again, when Rob gets here, we can get those answered for you. And anything that I can talk about right now, you guys can just go ahead and put in there too, and I can answer those questions until Rob gets here. But guys, I have to say this because it was a great session this week. If you haven't heard of our mentorship program, I'm telling you, you'll want to check it out. If Nate's on the call, I believe I saw he was showing up, but you gotta talk to some of these guys that are in the mentorship program, because this last week's session was also really great. So the one we had yesterday, and it was specifically great because we had a ton of people on the call asking really great questions. Really great questions that got to some really eye-opening advice for these guys who are in the program that are, actively asking questions and being involved. So it was, and the cool thing is, what I really like is, so like, you guys are on this call right now with me where it's a Q&A session, but you can't actually talk to me, right? You have to type in a message. On these calls, they actually are talking directly to me on their computer. They join in a Zoom call, and we're able to sit there and have open conversation with each other. And it's not just run by some random person, it's run specifically by me. So you're sitting there with me, and we get to go, deep into specific things that you want to know about your agency. And so we got questions about how to prospect. One of the questions was, how do I know how far I should go in my own local area to get clients, which was a great question. When you're going to get clients in your own local area, or when you're looking in your local market, what most people don't understand is, and I can actually show you the same example I showed them. Give me a second. Alrighty, so essentially what we did was, we were in the Texas area, but we'll just show you Atlanta. So this is a great example. It shows, we're going to talk about really quick, basically the service area you should look at when you're running your agency. This is just an example of the types of questions that we get. But most people think, okay, so if I lived directly in Atlanta right here somewhere, right? Or this is where I was operating from. Most people think, okay, well, I'm just going to find people all around this region right here. And that would be wrong, okay? Let me show you what I actually did when I was in Jacksonville, because I worked in Jacksonville for a long time at a big agency. So I want to show you where I actually went to get clients. So in Jacksonville, I was driving anywhere from up to Amelia Island, down to St. Augustine, over to Middleburg, Baldwin. I had clients that were in, where's that city at? That were in Tallahassee. I think Tallahassee's more over here. Yeah, I had clients that were over here in Tallahassee. I had clients that were in Gainesville, down here. I had clients in Lake City. I actually drove all the way over to Valdosta, which was like a 2.5 hour drive to pitch a proposal one time. So that's what I want you guys, that you're not just, even if you're not trying to get clients from all over the US, you have to understand, if you're looking for clients and you're trying to prospect, one of the most important things you can do is understand your service area. And you have to really open up. Like, I was going up to Brunswick sometimes. I think that was like a 45 to an hour drive right there, but that's what most people don't understand about prospecting clients, is you actually have to go way further out than just your local market that you're servicing right here to find the amount of people that you need to talk to on a regular basis. And that's what Rob will tell you too. And that's the reason why he does so well, is because he doesn't actually service just his local area in Florida. He's actually trying to take on clients from anywhere in the US, which that makes it a lot easier. And that might not be the approach that everybody wants to take. And it's not necessarily something you have to do, but it's something you should understand, because you need to understand how large your service area needs to be to open up your lead generating, or your prospecting process. What do we have over here? So let me bring me back up. But that's the type of stuff we get to go over in the program. And instead of actually, just typing in a message, we actually get to talk one-on-one. So if you had another question to follow up with, which most of you do, right? And it's hard to get a question to follow up with. Point being, guys, if you really want a program where you can work directly with me and get answers to questions, almost like a one-on-one situation, you really want to check out the MAP Mentorship program at our website. Again, it's only $10 a month, and you get about 58 videos a year for $120. That ain't bad if you stayed for the whole year. What do you think about the political campaign niche? There's definitely not a problem with going into the political space. It's kind of, for lack of better words, seasonal, meaning that they're not always running, so there's not always a huge budget dedicated. So only going after political campaigns might be a little bit different or difficult, unless you found clients that were, senators that wanted to, for example, that wanted to keep advertising past that point to grow and expand their reach, right? And people do that, but it's a lot less common. So it's a discussion that I actually put together for our Done With You agency program. One of my students wanted to do like entertainers and music artists, which again is fine, but it's a lot harder to get into because those are harder people to find, not to mention, even if let's say I have a YouTube channel and I'm a music artist, I do covers, and I have like 300,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm making enough to spend $2,000 to $5,000 a month on a marketing campaign. But with some people it may, it depends on how much merch they're selling, how many views they're getting per month on their videos or on their music on Spotify or on iTunes. So you really have to understand your niche as well. That's going to be a huge, huge factor. Let me see. What do you think about getting Duda for building websites? I love Duda. Definitely recommend it. Rob's about to hop on, guys, so don't go anywhere. We're about to start the real training. More time into cereal or rest and bar. Honestly, currently it's been a little bit of both, guys. So, it's been pretty. What's up, buddy?
Yo, what's up, man? I heard there was a party here.
There is a little bit of a party. We've already got about 26 people on. And that'll pick up as we go, so that'll be exciting. But guys, this is Robb Quinn, in case you haven't heard of Robb Quinn before. Again, sales genius, especially when it comes to SMMA sales. So had to get him on here, and he's got a lot of content that he's been putting out recently about, landing, if you're not landing at least 20 to 50 appointments per week to grow your agency, then there's something that you need to be doing differently. And so that's what me and Rob want to talk about tonight. So I'm going to let Rob take a second to introduce himself and talk about his experience and why you should even listen to Rob, because trust me, you definitely should, and his students will tell you the same. But Rob, why don't you just go ahead and take it away and tell them who you are?
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate the kind words, dude.
Sure.
Guys, let me tell you something. First of all, before we even get into like me and stuff, this is a great example of making sure that you pursue your passion and understand that like you can connect with whomever you want. Right? I know when Jordan and I first connected, it was a couple of years ago, and I sent him a message, and we were both going in our own lanes at the time. And before you knew it, like we continued doing our own thing in our own lane and ended up crossing paths again.
Yeah, several times.
Several times. Yeah. So this is just a great example, guys, of like, if you see somebody you want to reach out to them. Keep doing your thing. And it's a small world, man. You never know who you meet.
Sure. Yeah. And I think, and that's the thing, like most people don't realize, I feel like most people are afraid to reach out to other people, but they don't realize the benefit that you get from making and building these relationships. And I feel like a lot of people also think that it's almost abusing that person because of the fact that they feel like they're just doing it so they can get something in return. But you also have to understand, but that's the exact same mentality that the other person probably has. But really, in any relationship, that's kind of the goal of any relationship, whether it's a relationship with your spouse or a family member or a business related person, you're always getting something out of that relationship, I feel. But people, I feel like, shy away from it because of that.
Yeah, and be willing to give. That's the other thing too. Like, because yeah, I mean, you were always willing to like, hey man, what can I do for you? And I'm like, yo, what can I do for you? And it's like, I'll give you an example when I dropped the ball on this, just because we're on the topic real quick before I introduce myself. So Billie Jean was having a thing one time, like something about come out here, we'll pay for all the stuff, whatever. Well, we got his attention, and I got on the phone with him, and he's like, so what do you want, man? And instead of saying like, well, dude, this is what I want to do for you to help out your brand, because I was so amped, I was like, yo, I want all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, man, probably not gonna be a good fit. And like, I lost the deal.
Yeah.
Because I got caught up in the moment.
Right.
And so anyway, so if you guys get in that position, and you are talking to the person you finally want to talk to, whether it's a networking or you're closing a deal or whatever, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get starstruck. Just like remember, which we're going to talk about today, sales, but remember the core principles of the sales process. And it's all about giving that person what they want first, right? It's a give and take.
Sure.
That applies to anything in life.
Yeah, totally agree to that. Because that's the thing, like everybody, no matter what you say, no matter how you feel about yourself, everybody is somewhat selfish in nature. That's just the way we're built. So you have to understand that person and you're probably thinking the same thing. So it's kind of funny because especially if you meet someone like us, it's like, how can I help you? No, how can I help you? And it's like a battle, like, no, I'm going to help you first.
No, take all of this stuff.
Yeah, just take it all. Take all my shit.
Wait, why are we here again?
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, so my name is Robb Quinn. I've been in the sales game for a decade. 8 of those years was 100% commission. 2 of the years I had a base plus commission. Did 6 President's Clubs in sales prior to coming in and starting my own online company, Jordan's like, if you guys don't know the corporate industry, bro, that's hard.
Yeah, very hard.
Yeah, so that's some hard shit. I did that by the time I was 25 and 3 different industries. So the reason why I bring that up isn't because I want you guys just to know the credentials. It's because when you've been able to like execute the sales process in multiple industries, it's because your concepts work, not just your technique.
Right.
So I did it in door-to-door, selling Kirby vacuums. I did it in selling gym memberships, and I did it selling digital marketing for the Yellow Pages. So, which by the way, if you can sell digital marketing
for Yellow Pages,
for a freaking phone book, bro.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so yeah, it started there, and I went into my own marketing company, started in SMMA. We did fairly well with that. Scaled to like 12,500 a month in 60 days, and for a specific niche. This is after I had to relaunch it because the Yellow Pages tried to sue me because I had some clients come over, so I had to start my agency all over again.
Oh God.
So that's when we rescaled it back to 12,500 in 60 days. I'll let you guys know, because when you hear numbers like that, I just want you guys to know that I didn't come in brand new. So when you hear people say like, yo, scale to 50K in 90 days and like these insane numbers, they've got a background in something.
Right.
So like for me guys, like I was in sales for quite a while at that point. And then I was selling for the Yellow Pages for 2 years at that point. So I had experience in selling. So it's not like I came in with no experience. So don't let those numbers overwhelm you. We all come in at different stages in the game. So make sure that like you're in the place you need to be right now, and make sure you just listen to the right people that have what you want. So I came into this game. That's what I've been doing since I launched my first year in business. I did $250,000. Then we scaled by 70% the next year, and we're still scaling. We're looking to exceed last year's numbers before the goals by at the end of Q1. If not, definitely by the end of Q2, without question. So nice. I'm just letting you guys know, like, you can do this. But anyway, that's to Jordan's question. I feel like what qualifies me to kind of teach on the subject a little bit. I'm diverse. I'm not one of these. I think the fakers are really, they're kind of like diluting out. They're not, right. There's not as many as there used to be because the game's a lot harder now.
Right. There's a lot more competition in our market now, for sure.
Exactly. So anybody that's still here, guys, that's been doing it for a few years, these guys are the real deal, like Jordan. So
thank you. So yeah, man, and like that's the thing. I don't know. I kind of want to go back to what you said earlier, because it's one thing that does bug me about a lot of the trainers out there with the whole I'm going to get you to $50,000 in less than 90 days. What most people don't realize is that's not the standard. That is not typical. And the reason why is because there's so much that goes into running a $50,000 a month agency that if you're only 90 days old, that's really hard for you to do successfully and to build everything and get it in place, you know? So like, and it's not that that's impossible because I have several students now that are making over 50 grand. I have a couple that are making over $75,000 a month now. But it took Kayla about a year and a half to do that. It took Zach about 2 years to get to $50,000 a month. And so, you know, that's the thing. It is a process. And the cool thing is the story that I love to tell, especially about Kayla, is she was a biology major in college, stopped doing that to take my program and then went full force into digital marketing. And she didn't land her first deal for 4 months. She didn't even get her first client for 4 months. She had already taken my program. She had a bunch of stuff set up. She had built her brand, but she didn't. It took her 4 months to land that first client. Then she lost that client in like a month and a half because she didn't have a couple of things in place. She wasn't quite ready yet, but then she built back up. So the story being, or the point of the story being, you know, it's hard. It's going to take more time than you might have initially expected. But the ones who really make it, the ones who hit the $75,000 a month mark, like Kayla's doing now, are the ones who stick with it and understand that there is going to be some bumps in the road. There's going to be a little bit of failure involved, if you want to use that word. Really, I don't like to define it as failure, but more learning experiences, you know?
Hands down, dude. That is like the best. That is like perfect, articulated perfectly.
Yeah, thank you. But you know, enough about my students and stuff like that. I know what everybody's here for. You guys want to hear how Robb is getting from 20 to 50 appointments set per week, because that is a lot of appointments. I mean, could you imagine if your agency had 20 to 50 new appointments per week, how much money your agency could be making? And I know that a lot of this Robb has automated, and he's not spending on ads, which makes it even more valuable, right? So Robb, you know, just feel free to take it over from here. You know, I'll chime in when necessary, and if anybody has questions, I'll let you know. But, you know, explain, if you know, as much as you can, because I know you kind of sell this whole thing too. But, you know, explain as much as you can about what this is like. What is the day-to-day like to get to 20 to 50 appointments?
Absolutely. So here's the thing, guys, from square one, we see this a lot with agency owners, and it's always the same thing. Like, I don't want to work in my business. I want to work on my business. But nobody actually really, if you were to ask yourself, like, well, what does that mean? Well, let me write it down on paper. Like, you wouldn't be able to, because that's not clearly defined. It's the sexy thing that a lot of marketers use to get you in, right? And I've said it before, because it is the line, because you always want to sell the what, not the why, not the how. So it's just a line, guys. But you got to understand, like, you initially need to know how to do something before you hire somebody to do something. You at least need to understand the concept. So when I say that we're booking, because dude, we'll book 7 to 15 a day. So when I say 20 to 50 a week, that's just like averages. And again, it's the sexy number, but realistically, we're booking 7 to 15 a day. Like, those are our actual numbers. So 20 to 50 just gets people pumped to be on the call.
Right.
It's more real. If I were to be like, yo, you want to book 50 to 100 a week, they'd be like, too extreme.
Yeah,
nope,
don't believe this guy. Yeah, they're not buying. If he is booking those appointments, none of them are buying. Yeah.
So it's just like, that's why we don't use our actual numbers. It's like the same thing. When you start doing X amount of revenue per week or X amount of revenue per month, there comes a point where people are just like, not attainable for me.
Right.
So
oh, you're doing $1 million a year. It's that they can't envision themselves doing that yet. Yep. Right. So you can't just you can't start with $1 million. You got to start smaller. That's why like the $100,000, you know, per year kind of works perfectly. So I see that's a good point.
Exactly, man. And so before we get into how to do 20 to 50, let's first talk about how you need to be doing 10.
Sure.
Per week. So realistically, that's only 2 a day. And what most people don't think about, though, when you're booking these, because I'll talk about how we get them, guys, in a sec. I just want to explain like methodology behind it. It's really important to understand. Whenever you're starting to do this, you have to understand there's going to be no-shows. There's going to be people you're not making offers to. And once you understand those metrics, which I'll just let you know metric-wise, like expect to have like a 30% no-show rate. Totally normal. Expect for sure not to make offers. Like if you're making offers to 80% of your leads, that's really good.
Right.
You want to be closing at least 20%, which is really good. So if you can at least stay within those metrics for those. Now, we track a lot of other KPIs, but the reason I told you those specific metrics is because if you guys are booking 10 a week, I want you to now apply the metrics. So 30% are going to no-show, which means now you only have 7.
Right.
You're closing at 20%, so now you're only closing 1 deal a week.
Right.
So when you guys are thinking about how many appointments do I need to book per week to be successful, then make sure you reverse engineer those numbers to whatever income goal you want.
Right.
So if you want to do 100,000 a year, that's 8,500 a month, or 8.3. So that means if you're getting residual income, if you're closing 1 a week, that means you have 10 appointments a week. And that's if you're a good closer. If you're not a good closer, you'll probably close 10%. So expect to close only 2 deals a month if you book 10 calls a week. So if you're closing at $2,000 a month, well, that means you're only adding an extra $4,000 a month to your income.
Right.
Which means that it's going to take you at least 3 months to get over that 8,500 a month marker. That doesn't put you at $100,000 a year,
right?
Because now you have to make up the difference of the first 2 months that you missed.
Sure.
So when you guys are calculating how much revenue you want to do, make sure that you're looking at your numbers backwards. It's called reverse engineering.
Right.
Right. And then you guys will start to be able to understand, okay, this is how much work I need to put in based on how many hours it takes you to book that many appointments.
Right.
Which on average, if you're DMing, which is what we do, then you'll be able to start tracking what your percentage per booked calls are for those conversations.
Right.
Because you guys should track your inputs versus how many appointments booked.
And then it tells you how much you actually need to increase to reach your next revenue goal, right? So if you're hitting, $4,000 a month with a 20% close ratio, right? But you need to get to $8,000 a month, but your top of funnel, the initial traffic, you started off with 1,000 people to hit that number that you're at currently. That means what do you need to do to double your revenue? You need to double that top of funnel traffic. Yep. Pretty much from there, or increase your close ratio, or increase your appointment ratio, or decrease your no-show ratio if you can find a way to do that. But the most important thing that Rob is saying right here, guys, is knowing your numbers allows you to understand what exactly you need to be doing to hit the revenue goals that you want. And if you're not planning for that, that's your first mistake that you're making, right? Mm-hmm. I think you would agree with that.
Dude, all day long. Like, you can't fix something you can't see.
Right.
And so that would definitely be the first move, is making sure you're tracking that stuff. Another really, really important line that I heard from one of our clients who also scaled super quickly in the last 45 days as well. And by the way, the reason I bring that piece up isn't to talk about my clients, is because you guys need to start listening to your most successful clients, because the things they say, pull the exact words out that they say, because it's called native language. And if you start saying and doing and fixing the things that your best clients are saying and doing, then you're going to start to gravitate that exact type of client. So it's important to listen to that. So this next line I say is from one of our, more successful clients in our programs. They said to me, when I got started, I didn't know what not to try to fix. So in other words, they were afraid to fix something that was already working, but they didn't know it was working because they weren't tracking all the metrics.
Right.
So for them, after they found out the metrics, they're like, holy shit, we didn't need to change this thing up at all. It's like a Facebook ad. Like when you're running a Facebook ad, and you guys know this if you're learning from Jordan, like Jordan knows Facebook ads. Like you don't go in and fix the creative, the ad copy, the targeting. You don't fix everything at once. You fix one thing at a time.
Right. And you test. And then you figure out if that was the issue. And then you test something else. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It seems the same thing. Your sales progress is the same way. You don't change everything at once. You look at all the KPIs, like what you just said. What's your no-show rate?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What's your connection rate?
And that's what I always try to tell people too, because they're like, I don't know why I'm not landing clients. So I say, okay, are you getting appointments? No, I'm not getting appointments. Okay, so that's why you're not landing clients, because the part that comes before the actual appointment, which is the actual initial outreach stage of the sales process, you're not doing or saying something right. You're either not pre-qualifying the business properly, you're not saying the right thing on the phone, email, text message, messenger, whatever, but something is not being done right at that level. So you don't need to worry about the rest of the sales process yet because you haven't even mastered the part where you're getting the appointments, which leads into the next part of the sales process. So if you understand where you're messing up, you know how to improve or fix the situation.
Dude, exactly. And this is another, dude, I'm glad you brought that up. Quick segue before we talk more about the fact, like, how we're getting the appointments.
Sure.
What you just said, like, everyone's so worried about fulfillment when they start an agency, but they have no clients to worry about fulfillment with. Everybody's so
Right.
worried about their sales process, but they're not booking appointments to worry about their sales process.
Right.
So, dude, I'm not kidding you, like, the majority of sales calls we hop on, because it's just to help agency with only sales.
Right.
It's like when we hop on the call, they always tell me, like, dude, I want to get good at sales, Rob. Like, teach me how to be great at sales. And it's like, okay, cool. How many appointments are you booking? And they're like, I think I did like 5 this month. And I'm like, okay, well, dude, you don't have a sales problem. You have a marketing problem. You're probably a baller at sales, but you don't know it. You haven't given yourself the chance to be.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God. And
you're so right.
Oh my God. So, and the thing is, I used to feel the same way. When I was at the Yellow Pages, we had to get super good at sales because we didn't know how to prospect because nobody taught us how to do anything but cold call and door knock.
I went through the same thing at the agency I worked at. They were basically like, just start calling people.
Yeah.
Okay, like I knew how to talk to people. That's where I understood sales, and I think that's why they hired me. But the actual prospecting process, pre-qualifying, I didn't know what any of that was. I had to teach myself basically all of those things, and it really came from, going in and fucking it all up and then saying, okay, well, I didn't do something right here. What did I not do on the front end to get to the point where I want to be? So yeah, I definitely had to figure it out by myself. So I can totally relate to that. Why is it that the biggest companies do no training?
Like, zero training. When they do give you training, it's awful.
Yeah, it's funny. But anyways.
They overcomplicate stuff. And anyway, so my advice, guys, is to focus on, do I have a marketing problem or do I have a sales problem? So that's always the first thing we do in audits, is to figure out which one it is. Just to let you know, like with us booking 7 to 15 a day, we have 4 people booking calls every day. And it's our executive assistant who books calls through our Facebook group. It's our guy booking calls from our LinkedIn, because we do LinkedIn automation and we do that. And then we have somebody else booking calls inside of the Facebook group. So we have somebody booking them for entries. We have somebody booking them inside. And then we have someone on our LinkedIn booking them for my profile. So if you guys get hit by a message from me, it's probably not me, it's probably Frank. Mm-hmm. And then same thing on my personal Facebook. So I do that one right now because I'm afraid I was going to do the VPN thing and stuff, but I don't want to lose everything on my Facebook, take the chance of that. It's just not worth it to me.
Right.
And then my Instagram, also where we book them. So, and you connect that to your personal Facebook page and you can start booking stuff in there, and a separate person in ManyChat.
Which one of those do you think is providing you with the most benefit?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn for sure?
All day.
Okay.
Facebook group is a runner-up.
Sure.
What you guys will notice is that this is becoming more popular, but your brand does matter. It doesn't matter what type of agency you own or what niche you service, or if you're a coach. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, your brand matters. So get your ass on YouTube. Like, have an Instagram. Even if you're not consistent, even if you're repurposing a lot of the same content from one platform to another, I promise you guys, like, somebody's going to look you up. Like, that person you just talked to, probably going to look you up.
Yep.
So, like, do your due diligence and, like, care about your brand.
Totally agree there. And a lot of people always ask me that, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, if you're just starting out, at least with me, I know I wasn't really worried about it starting out because I was one of the guys who I wasn't doing, like, a ton of cold calling and emailing. I was mostly going out and going to businesses or going to networking events, stuff like that. But I can completely agree to the sense that, businesses, for sure, even if I didn't have mine running, I know they were probably still looking me up. So I totally agree with that. There is value to having your brand set up, and it makes you that much more trustworthy.
Yep, exactly. So, and you don't have to only do that, guys, because you get caught up in the brand and you don't have any appointments.
Right.
Make sure you're still doing both. And in the terms of booking per day, you should be able to spend like 3 hours a day. and book like 2 to 3 calls. Your messaging matters. And the thing is, you want to do something consistent with your messaging. The biggest mistake agencies make, and this is what happened to me when I was at the Yellow Pages. My first sale was 12 grand. And everyone was hyped, bro. And it was $1,000 a month on a 12-month contract. And as you know, like I sell in contracts. That's our thing.
Right.
And because I've always done it that way. And everyone was so jacked up because it was like my second week there. And I was like, why is everyone so excited about something that I don't know how to do again? And everyone's like, you're thinking too much about it, man. You just made a sale. Let's celebrate. And I'm like, is this not scary to anybody else?
Yeah, like should we not be freaked out?
Yeah, like how do I do it again? And then I didn't land another sale for like another month.
Right.
And then it was a tiny sale. I sold like a directory listing. And then after that, I wasn't making any sales. And I could not understand why, because I was always an overperformer in every other industry. And so then I came to find out because they were going to let me go. They were like, you have 30 days to sell 60 grand or we're going to have to let you go. And yeah, I know. They called it a PIT plan, performance enhancement plan or something like that. And I was like, yo, what?
60? I just did one for 12. You want me to do that 5 times?
Yeah, I think at that point I was like 18,000 sold in total revenue.
Yeah.
But after 6 months, so to give you guys a good realization, like this is from somebody that understands sales. Like I only did 18 grand in 6 months because I didn't understand my biggest problem, and it was that I was talking to the wrong people. And what we came to find out was this: it takes the same amount of time to sell high ticket as it does low ticket. So once I had that realization, and they also told me I was going to get fired, I didn't sell 60 grand. I was like, if I'm going out, I'm swinging for the fences because I don't lose. And so I started calling big companies. So I was like, let's go. I called AMC 24, Pepsi, Tyson Foods.
Real big companies. Okay.
I was like, if I'm going out, I'm going out.
Right.
Like, we get one chance here. So I was like, I called YRC Freight. Who was the other one? I called, JCPenney's.
JCPenney.
Yeah. Here's the crazy thing. Here's what happened, guys. I got into all of them. And I know that sounds unrealistic, but the reason why I got in was because I used the same cold call pitch, because I cold called. And it was always, hey, my name's Rob. I've had a lot of success working with X company to do Y. I was looking to share the step-by-step process with whomever handles that responsibility. Always the same thing. And when we talked to the right person, they were willing to push us through. Pepsi and Coke only hire internally. They don't hire any third parties, so that was out of the question. JCPenney's, I call them to recruit drivers for their logistics side of the company, because I knew I wouldn't get in the front door because marketing would cockblock me.
Sure.
So I was like, well, how do I get in? And I was like, logistics. Okay, well, what do I know about logistics? Well, they have to drive trucks. So I could probably help them hire the drivers for the trucks.
Right.
So easy to get in, easy in. But they were not doing well as a company. So they weren't hiring anybody to do anything. Tyson Foods got in, lost the deal to a competitor. And then I ended up selling YRC Freight. And I sold them for $108,000 on a 6-month contract. And then I hit my quota for the month. And that's when I realized it's the person I'm talking to.
Right.
I was talking to the wrong size company. So then I did it again. And I was able to sell a $5,000 a month contract in only 2 weeks to a company out of the state. And that's when I realized, oh, you could do this over the phone too. And then that's whenever the world opened up to me.
Right.
So when it came to booking appointments, to circle back, you need a consistent message. Whether you're doing DM, cold calling, door knocking, doesn't matter. Your message needs to stay the same, because your confidence, anytime you have clarity when you do something, your confidence increases and confidence closes.
Confidence sells. Yeah. Confidence closes. I like that. Yeah.
So yeah, whether you're getting the appointment, whether you're closing the deal, doesn't matter. Like, you have to close one step before the next step.
Totally agree with that. And then, guys, if you have any questions for Rob, please make sure to leave them in the chat. We're going to continue talking about this process that he uses to get to 20 to 50 appointments per week. But also, do me a quick favor and hit that thumbs up button if you guys are learning anything right now, and that's just to help make sure that we reach more marketing agency owners like yourself. I'm looking at the wrong camera. I forgot I'm on my webcam. I got my other camera right here. I'm like, anyways, yeah. So make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you're learning anything from Rob, just so obviously you can show us some love. But yeah, man, I totally get it. And hey, let's go SMMA. Okay. But dude, no, I mean, and it's so true. Like, you don't realize that most people, it's exactly what you said. You're gonna spend just as much time trying to go after smaller fish, and so why not? You know, and I guess people are just intimidated. I think that's really what it comes down to. Is they're like, holy shit, you know, that's like Nike. Nike would never hire someone as small as me, you know, but that's the wrong mentality to have, because if you truly know what you're doing and you have a product that does work, people will hire you. But it's also, I mean, shit, just like you and I said, I mean, Yelp really isn't that great of a marketing service, but if you know how to frame it, you can pretty much sell anything, you know? And so that's what I like about your approach. Is it's more about understanding you're not just selling a service. You're going in and you're trying to figure out what this person really desires, and you're almost working that to your advantage.
There's two things I've noticed with people, especially brand new, and even when they're not brand new, it happens at a higher scale. So number one is when they're talking to somebody, they get distracted by the title and not the fact that they're all people. So they're like, "Oh my God, guys, I am talking to the VP," or they're like, "I'm talking to the head attorney."
I've done that.
Yeah, dude,
Totally victim to that. Yeah.
Right. That happened to me all the time.
And then it drops your confidence because you feel lesser than when you're both people, you know?
The other thing is people go in nervous because they don't want to lose the deal. But here's the thing. You're afraid to lose a deal you don't even have. Yeah. So like those are the two things that I'm just like, when I had those aha moments, I was like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Like, why does this matter?
Right.
So then I was able to start going in and joking during my appointments. I was able to go in and be like, dude, I'm here to qualify you. There's been calls where in the middle of the sales call, it would come down to me saying like, look, we're at the point in the conversation now to where you're going to have to convince me why I should stay and why we shouldn't just end this. Because to be honest, I just don't think you're serious.
Right.
So then they're going to say, yeah, I'm really not. And then you just leave, or they're going to be like, no, I am serious. And then they're going to start opening up again.
Right.
So reversal.
Yep. And that's why I love, like, one thing I love about sales is you kind of check someone, right? And you say, look, you literally just told me that you want marketing and that you want to spend. So what is your doubt right now? What is really keeping you from making the decision right now? Because you're telling me you want these things, but it seems like you're not serious. And then you put them on the spot using their words against them. Then they're like, well, shit, I did say that.
You want a really good line to use, and you can use these in any industry. So if that happens and they're like, man, I don't know, and they start to have like a little bit of remorse and they haven't even bought yet, you just go in because they've already told you what they want. They want to be this type of company, do this kind of revenue, whatever, and be like, can we do an exercise real quick? And always ask permission before you do this kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then you just ask them, if you were, let's switch roles for a minute. If you were to sit here and tell me that this makes a lot of sense, that this is the right fit, that I like you, Rob, and that I need to get a campaign up by this date, like, what would you advise me to do? And if they're like, well, I would tell you to wait, be like, well, that's why your company's not growing, man. Or if they're like, I would tell you to get started, I'd be like, well, what would you like to do next then? So this puts you in a position to where it's a win-win, alternate choice close.
Right.
The second one I would do is say, look, can we do a quick exercise? They say, yeah, okay. Well, I want to figure out right now that you already told me you want to be XYZ type of company, and you want to be at this type of growth. So if you were this type of company right now, and we were to make a logical decision instead of an emotional decision, which sounds like it's happening right now, like, what would a company doing $100,000 a month say to this type of educator risk? Would they turn it down, or would they say yes?
They're going to say yes.
Always. So you put them in a position to now think from that perspective versus getting out of this perspective. It's the same way as you do labeling. Because if you're like, look, what I'd like to do right now, because it sounds to me like there's a lot of concerns that you're having, which is XYZ, all very valid, by the way. I'd like to just take those concerns real quick and just put them in a jar, set the jar on a shelf. And I'd like to hear from you right now, like what are the specific reasons why you hopped on this call and what you would like to achieve from if the partnership did go the way you wanted to. Because now you literally take all of their bad feelings and you subconsciously push them to the side, and now they're in a positive frame of mind.
Right. And guys, those of you that are watching, I want you to notice one thing really quickly that Robb has not done. He hasn't talked about the product at all. We're not talking about the product when we're selling. We are, at some point, we do kind of explain a little bit about what we're doing and how it all kind of works, but the more important thing to understand, and again, I'm looking at my other camera, the more important thing to understand.
I'm over here.
Yeah, right. The more important thing to understand is the fact that you're dealing with a human being who has a goal that it has nothing to do with your service. Their goal is improving their business, making more sales, making more, getting more clients in the door, getting more employees so they can do less work. Those are their goals usually. Spending more time with family, going on more vacations, all those things. That's what you're really selling, is the ability for them to have more of what they want. And that's really what you're focusing on. So you're telling them, okay, well, you're telling me you want all of these things. So what would this situation look like? What would a successful partnership, like you said, look like? And what would we have to do to get it there? You're focusing less on the actual service and you're focusing more on what they need to feel comfortable, which is what people have to feel to buy.
Yeah, what people are trying to do when they do that, and because this all falls back to NLP, and if you don't study that, it's totally fine. Like there's certain techniques that you could learn from what we do from an NLP practice, but the reason people do that is because they want you to describe something to them that they don't fully understand, because subconsciously they want to not understand it so they can logically tell themselves that they shouldn't do it because it's something they don't understand. So subconsciously they're trying to find reasons for them to say no, because the small brain is a fight or flight. So like when it's scared, it runs. And when it doesn't understand something, it runs. That's where the saying a confused buyer always says no comes from. Is from that.
Yep.
So one last closing line for you guys if you're in that situation before we talk about the getting the leads portion and the strategy is anytime the solution is, it has to be the right fit. You should always get a scale, like a scale of 1 to 10, like how committed are you to everything you've heard so far, all this and that. So if you've gotten their confirmation they want to do it, and they're like, can we book a follow-up call and do this? They also need to be the main decision maker, by the way. If you can't
Definitely.
do this, yeah, it won't work. So come in and say, like, typically, Mr. Customer, we could, and I do follow-up calls. But in this case, we're not going to do one. And the reason why is because you and I both know it's the right fit. You already told me that you like me. You already told me you believe in the service, the product. You already told me you're 10 out of 10. So typically, I would do a follow-up call. But in this scenario, we're not going to do one because you already know this is the right fit. I'm going to challenge you to get started today.
Oof.
And what it does is positive pressure because they're the decision maker. They already said yes. They just need somebody to push them. If you take it one step further, now you have to understand your buyer to use this next line, but you can come in and also say to them, what I'm going to do next is something from the sounds of it that nobody has actually ever done with you yet. And I'm going to stand up for you. Okay? And I'm going to challenge you to get started today. Because if you already know this is all the right fit, you know that you make this decision. This is a decision-making pattern that you're running into saying no when something's right for you. So I'm going to stand up for you, and I'm going to challenge you to get started today. So
if you guys aren't getting value out of this, I don't know what else we need to do. Like,
But anyway, so we can get into the strategy now. I just want to give you guys some good closing lines whenever the scenario fits right and everything.
But those are great. Like, and that's the thing. People are afraid to do that. They're afraid that they're going to overstep by doing something like that when you're actually doing something of value for that person. I get people who are all the time, they're like, I don't have any past experience, so why should I go out and start getting clients? And I'm like, do you feel comfortable with digital marketing? Do you feel like you know enough to really build and create a successful campaign for a business? Yes. Okay, so why not? Like, what are you so afraid of that is keeping you from actually going and just doing it? And if you know that you can provide the service at a level of quality that's going to provide results for that business, you're not hurting them, you're helping them. You're doing a positive thing for that business. So it's just like that should never be a reason to hold back from starting and going and actually talking to businesses. Because that's the other thing. You'll never get clients if you don't talk to anyone. So
Yeah. I always do one of two things with our clients and stuff, like our coaching clients. I always tell them, like, number one, why'd you start dating girls, or why'd you start dating guys, depending on who I'm talking to, and they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Or I'd be like, "Why'd you even go to school?" And they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, because at the end of the day, you've never done it before, so why'd you do it? They're like, because I wanted to try it out, because I wanted to see what it was like, because I felt like it would work, because I kind of had to. Okay, well, do any of those apply here? And you see how just immediate now, because the analogies immediately people are able to relate to them.
and they're triggered to make them say yes.
Exactly.
The other thing is, yeah, we're keeping them in the frame of mind of yes and positive thinking versus saying, oh, I can't do this. I shouldn't do this. This is not going to be good. I'm not going to get the results I want. You're getting them out of that framework or that that frame of mind that says I can't, and getting them to start looking at finally I can and I should.
Yep.
Yeah.
Problem frames and outcome frames.
Right.
You have to get people out of the problem frame, which they're trying to convince themselves to stay in. So anyway, so I always ask people that, like, why?
Right.
Why'd you go to school or anything? Wow, I just drew a blank on the other thing. But anyway, we can keep going.
Yeah, no big deal. So, all right, so we're using Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook groups to drive the leads. And so what is that like? I mean, how do we know, how do we even find these leads? What are we doing what are we talking to them about? How do we actually get to them to the point where they're like, yeah, I want to get on the phone with you?
Yep. So number one, you should always be posting content, not just for your brand, but also because it's a war. And the more phone calls you're on, you guys will be able to collect this, again, native language that will allow you to speak to your customers the way they want to be spoken to, not in the way you want to speak to them because you think that is what they want to hear. Okay? You need to speak to them in a way that they want to be spoken to because they gravitate to that. So, for example, like, let's say I'm talking to a real estate agent. I made a post and I was like, instead of saying like, hey, what real estate agent would like more buyers? Like, okay,
Well, you're already being sold something. Like, you already know you're being sold something. You haven't actually told me a story or lured me in, like you kind of said.
Exactly. But what if I went into a real estate group and I put a Facebook post up that said, who else here is freaking sick of these shared leads from Zillow?
Very specific to the industry, which is important.
Exactly. Because everybody's going to be like me, and they're all going to share their experience. And then all you do next is, first of all, you continue to reply to everyone's comments, because you can do this in anyone's Facebook group or on a personal Facebook post on your own page or on LinkedIn or on Instagram. And the reason why is because the way those algorithms work, they push out more engagement, the same way Jordan just said to do a thumbs up. So when it pushes out more engagement, it pushes out to those people's networks too, which it continues to expand.
Right.
So that's number one. Or sorry, that's number two. Step number one is making the right type of post. Number two is continuing to engage with those comments to expand the reach. Number three is going in, and to start the conversation, you want to acknowledge what just happened. That's step number one in the DM. Because if most people, what they're doing is they go into the DM and they start with an initial pitch.
Hey, I do digital marketing. I would love to talk to you about how I can help your business. You just lost me.
Hey, couldn't help but notice that you own a real estate agency. I happen to do ads for real estate agents. I'm the best in the industry.
Cool. I've heard about 95 of you today, so cool.
Is that why you DM'd me? Because you're the best in the industry? I didn't come to you? It's like, that's a dumb line.
Right.
So instead, what you do is acknowledge it. Hey, man, dude, saw you hated Zillow too. Like, I knew I liked you.
Something simple.
Something simple, and it doesn't matter what you say. What matters is you follow the concept. Step number one is to acknowledge what they did. So let's say they didn't comment at all. Let's say they only gave you a thumbs up, a heart, a laughy face, whatever. Acknowledge it. Say, hey, dude, I couldn't help but notice you thought that post was hilarious. Like, dude, Zillow is horrible. Like, I'm not saying Zillow is horrible in case they watch this and they're like, slander. Like, I'm just saying, like whatever you say, just acknowledge what they said.
Right.
That's step number one. Whatever it is, acknowledge the action. Okay. Number two is you want to make sure you can recognize what they do. So now you have the in. because you lower the guard a little bit. Say, hey, dude, I couldn't help but notice. So you work with buyers and sellers? Dude, that's awesome, man. Like, how's the year been going? Still not going in with any type of pitch.
Right.
And then you want to start leading in with asking them, like, well, what's your goal for the year? Because they're just going to tell you, like, man, actually, we're trying to sell X amount of homes, or we're thinking about focusing on this or that, or whatever. And then you want to ask them, like, okay, cool. Like, what have you done so far to try to fix that? Or no, sorry, I missed a question. Like, next you ask them about the gap. Like, how far off are you?
Right.
And don't make this complicated, guys, because I know a lot of people are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, okay, cool. How far off are you? So what can I add in there to make that sound better?
Yeah. How many leads are you currently doing per month, and how many leads do you need to get? No, just simple.
Simple.
And again, how far off are you doesn't sound salesy. It sounds genuinely interested, right? And that's a huge thing. I want you guys to get what Robb is doing right here is he's opening them up by making them comfortable, by not making it about him and what his goal is. He's focusing on them, keeping conversation simple and organic, and not like it's a sales rep reaching out to them.
Yep. That's all we do. So then the next step after they answer how far off they are, we ask them, like, well, first of all, acknowledge everything they say when they say it.
Sure.
Then next question, like, oh, dude, that's actually pretty close, or oh, damn, that's a hell of a gap, bro. You don't have to say bro all the time. It's really broy. You don't have to do that. Actually, don't do that.
Don't say bro.
Bro. Stop it with the broing. Anyway, so going next to the question you want to ask them is, well, so what's slowing you up or holding you down or holding you back? So what's slowing you down or holding you up? There you go. Right. And then they'll tell you, like, well, it's this, 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 or this. And be like, okay, cool, man. Well, what have you done so far to fix that? And then they're like, well, I've done this, 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 and this. Okay, cool. Well, man, I got to be honest. Like, I've had a lot of success working with real estate agents to be able to focus on or to overcome that obstacle. Because the reason why I say just overcome the obstacle instead of something specific is because I can copy and paste all these. So, because that's all you have to do.
Yep. And it saves time, which means more leads. More time with more people means more leads. There's very specific reasons why we automate this. We come up with messaging that is consistent because it makes the process that much faster, more efficient, which means more money in the door.
Boom, exactly. And anytime you guys want to delegate something, like, you cannot delegate or you cannot duplicate talent. So, but you can duplicate consistent messaging.
Sure.
So if it's consistent, simple, then you could have somebody else come in and then do really well with that.
Right.
They just say the same thing. And then the last thing to say is, if you're open to it, I could lend some advice if you're open to it. So all you're doing is hopping on a call to lend some advice, which is going to segue you into saying, like, because what'll happen if you know how to position your sales call, what'll happen is they're going to say, like, well, dude, you have anything that could, like, you could do with this? And be like, yo, that's a great question, man. Like, what specifically about this were you interested in, like, fixing, like, immediately? Because it sounds to me like you got a lot of stuff going on. So, like, what immediately are you trying to fix? And then you can segue into a sales call.
Right.
Because even if they say, like, you have only got 5 minutes, I could hear you out, though. Like, they're only willing to commit 5 minutes right now. But if they know that you have something that works, all of a sudden they're willing to commit 3 hours.
Yep.
So do not fall to the smoke screens. So that would be the next thing. My last bit of advice with the booking appointments thing, because you guys heard me and, you know, I use all these platforms. I spent the last 2 years building my brand on every platform. And do not do that right away. And the reason why I say that is because if you focus on building every platform, you're going to be a master of none. And that happened to me where I started to build them all, and immediately my appointment booking started tanking because I was trying to do too many at once, and I'd be really good at one. I was like, all right, now let's get good at this one. I would just stop doing that other one altogether.
Right.
So get good at it. Make sure you have documentation, AKA SOPs, and then bring somebody on to do it, and then move to the next one.
Right. And that's the thing too. People don't realize how thin they try to spread themselves, whether it's with sales or even just trying to run the campaigns for clients, you know. And it's like, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about working on and not in your business. Too many people like think that they have to do every aspect of the job, or they think they need to be on every platform in like as soon as they start. So you spread your resources, and really by resources what I mean is your time, way too thin, and you simply cannot commit to everything that we're talking about here at one time. It takes a team. It's like one of my favorite, like I love it when I'm on a sales call or pitching someone and they're like, they ask the question, well, why shouldn't I just hire someone internally to do this? Like myself, I was like, okay, well, here's the first, I totally get why, and it could make sense for you to see it that way. But you have to understand, for me to do my job for any of our clients, we typically have 15 to 20 people on a campaign at any given time. And the reason why that is because one person simply cannot do everything in digital marketing. That's like saying you're an expert at, every form of law. Usually lawyers only stick to a specific type of law because it is way too complex. There's so much going on for you to be an expert at every single type of law. And the same kind of scenario really applies here is we are experts at digital marketing. We're experts at selling, but we only really can focus on certain things at a time because of the amount of time that we do have on a day-to-day basis or resources that we have to work with. And I know I'm victim to that. I've definitely done that in the past. It's still something that happens occasionally because you don't realize, especially with something new, right? You're getting into a new venture. You don't quite know everything just yet. So you go to test the waters, then you learn the hard way. Oh crap, I spent way too much time trying to do 55 things when I should have focused on 1 and 2. And that was it. And then get really good at these 1 and 2, hire people to replicate the process, and then move on to 3 and 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
The hardest thing as you grow, guys, is going to be learning to let go because you're going to say to yourself, well, no one can do this better than me. And the truth is, even if that is true, you'll never continue to scale until you bring somebody else in. And the truth is, if they only perform at 50 or 75% of what you can do, that still frees your time up to focus on another area of the business and grow. And 3 people doing what you do at 50% is still more than you performing at 100%.
Sure.
The next thing I'll add on that too, if you guys haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari, have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I love that movie. It was dope.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Matt Damon was weird in that movie though. I'm not gonna lie, super weird, but yeah, very good movie.
So that's a great example because Ferrari almost went under, but they went under because they were focused on this exact thing, quality, and the way that they performed to build the best car in the world at the time for racing was by everybody working on each individual part separately. And that's how they built one of those luxurious cars that every entrepreneur seems to want to buy, that and Lambos.
Yep.
Is as each part is built separately and people know they're buying the best quality.
Right. Yeah, I have people who ask me all the time, they're like, should I hire a VA agency off of Upwork? And I'm like, so I've done that, and what I've learned is hell no. And the reason why is because what I've found works really well as far as like outsourcing and hiring is, like you said, I hire someone who only knows SEO. I'm not going to find a guy who I do web development, I do SEO, I do pay-per-click to manage all of those 3 different things because I just want one guy who this is what he lives and breathes because I know that he's going to be good at that, right? Same thing with Facebook ads. I want to know that that is pretty much all you do. Now, if you run YouTube ads too, they're pretty much the same thing, so I'm not really too worried about it. But I don't want you to run Facebook ads and do SEO and do content marketing or email marketing. I just want you to be really good at ads. That's it. But Rob, we're actually at the hour point, and I'm sure you've got plenty of stuff to do still. I know you're on a business trip right now, not necessarily for vacay. But did you have any last points you wanted to make about getting to the point where you're getting to 20 to 50 appointments a week?
Yep. To recap what we already said. So first off, don't spread yourself too thin at first. Pick the platform you currently have the most leverage, whether that's Instagram, because you'll do the same thing. You're engaging with, or you're DMing the engagement. So whether that's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, personal page, or Facebook groups, whether that's your own group or you're in other people's groups that are a niche specific group. Make sure that you pick the one you have the most leverage. Second, make sure it's conversational. So you're not going in making a pitch. Listen to your clients while you're on the phone. Write the stuff down you're hearing, whether you need to record it and listen to it the next day, or take notes during the call, but make sure that you're leveraging in your post whatever the biggest pain or gains are in that conversation. So you're saying what they want to hear, not what you want to say.
Right.
And then make sure that you follow the simple questions that we already talked about here.
And get consistent with it. Don't change it. Once you have a system that works, just repeat the system over and over and over again. And then again, like he said, start off with value, with the mentality that you want to help them in mind, and don't go into it trying to like immediately just sell a product or say that you can help them because you sell a product.
Yep, exactly. So that's the simplest way, guys. And I know it sounds like, oh, well, I'll have one more thing in here. And oh my God, I did a Facebook Live on this before, because a bunch of people are going to watch this and they're going to say to themselves, oh yeah, oh, you know what? Yeah, no, I've been doing that. Like that's simple. Like, I've been doing this the whole time. This isn't anything new. Well, here's the deal, guys. If you're watching this and you're not booking anywhere from like us 7 to 15 per day organically, then you haven't been doing this. What
Right.
just happened for you is you had what I refer to as an aha moment, and you're starting to finally be able to contextualize what you've either been doing subconsciously or without actual technique. You've
Right.
just been accidentally doing it. So what
Right.
I just did for you is I helped you now be able to contextualize what you're doing and actually give you some structure. So
Right.
now, yeah, so all of a sudden now you might be booking 5 appointments per day because you now have structure behind what you were accidentally doing.
Right. It's more of a planned approach versus just winging it. And that's the
Exactly.
bit most people seriously, I had the same talk, and we'll kind of drop it off after this because I know you got to go, but I had the same talk with my little brother. He recently started selling roofs down in Florida. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, so I've got like 4 sales now. And I was like, cool, man. So how many doors did you go hit to do that? He goes, what do you mean? I was like, how many doors did you hit this week to make those 4 sales? And he was like, I don't know, probably like 300. I was like, so you got 4 sales off of hitting 300 doors? He goes, yeah. And I was like, that's pretty good money. He goes, yeah. I was like, all right, so from hitting those doors, how many appointments did you set? Oh, I don't know. And he had no clue about any of his numbers. And so that's why I had to sit there. I was like, so Garrett, here's what I want you to do. Start writing these numbers down on a weekly basis. And if you want to make 8 sales in a week, go from hitting 300 doors to 600 doors and see if those numbers work out. And it's just the plan for sales. And what really makes a successful salesperson, I think, is understanding that it's not just trying to talk to people and sell a product. There are numbers to it. There's a plan to it. There's a methodology to it, a strategy to it. And if you make that all consistent, it ends up working out 10,000 times better than your winging it approach, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really it, guys. Like people, I totally get what you're saying. They're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this right now. No, if you were doing it, then you would be landing at the amount of appointments that Rob is talking to you about. So somewhere in that process, either the messaging, the approach that you're taking, the platform you're using, whatever, from everything that we've mentioned, you're not hitting one of those areas or maybe multiple areas that we mentioned. And to fix it, you just need to look at which area you're not performing in. But
Yep, exactly.
Rob, dude, thank you so much, man, for doing this call. I'm sure everybody loved it. We've had about 30 to 40 people watching pretty much the whole time, so it was definitely a good live call tonight.
Thanks for joining.
Tell them where they can reach you at. I know you have a YouTube channel, so we're going to post that in the description once the video gets up. I'll post his YouTube channel right down there. But where else can they find you, and what programs do you offer for people to learn how to sell like a pro over here?
Hey, well, appreciate that, man. So yeah, you can find me on YouTube. We post up 1 to 2 videos a week. So that's just Robb Quinn, RobbQuinn, which Jordan will link. If you want to go to my Facebook group, then because we're going to be changing the name and might change again in the future, you could just go to my Facebook profile, my personal page, which is just my name. And then I will link it in my banner or my feature photo. So just click on one of those and I'll always have whatever the updated name of my Facebook group is. Program wise, we have a mentorship program referred to as the Art of Sales. And this is where we'll just make sure that you can be generating 20 to 50 appointments a week and make sure that you have a bulletproof sales framework. So this way you're not winging it on every call. And you can make sure people ask to buy from you long term instead of you trying to sell a month to month. because it takes the same amount of time. If you're already booking enough appointments, then we actually recruit you a trained sales rep that we put through a 2.5 hour sales process, sales interview process, and it's super extensive. So we will put them into your company if you are generating enough appointments per week.
Right. And they basically just implement everything that Robb has put into his own business, which is perfect. It's exactly what you need for more sales. So guys, if you have anything that you need that is sales related, Robb is definitely someone to talk to. So I definitely recommend going and checking out his stuff. Like I mentioned, he's actually in Atlanta. You're from Florida, right? What part of Florida again?
No, I'm actually I spent half my year in LA last year, but I actually live in Kansas City.
Why did I think you were from Florida?
Because I look good with my tan.
Wait, isn't that where you did your mastermind? Or didn't you
Well,
do them?
that's where the next mastermind is.
Okay, that's what I think it was. I was confusing it with that. Okay.
I live in Florida.
Yeah, it's beautiful there. Where was I going? Oh, Robb is in town. He's in Atlanta, so we're actually producing some content on Saturday. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, me and Robb talked about potentially putting together some sales-related training that will sell for anywhere. We haven't decided what we're going to talk about this Saturday, but we'll sell it for anywhere from 10 to $100. Somewhere in there is going to be the price range for the product. But I think you guys would be interested in that, and I think between both of us, we could really put together something pretty killer. So guys, if you would like to see that, leave us a comment or write us a message. Let us know what your thoughts are on that product. If you have something specific that you would like to see about sales created, you can also let us know that. But last minute notes, if you haven't already figured it out, the description for YouTube videos is where all the good stuff goes. So we're going to post, again, Robb's link is down there. We also have a form down there for our new Done With You agency program. If you're wanting to learn more about that, you can check that out there. Also our mentorship program, which is only $10 a month, where we do 4 live training calls every single month. Well, really 1 a week, depending on the month. It could be more than that, but $10 a month. It's literally nothing. And every person that I've had come in the program, they're just like, dude, I've never learned so much so quickly. So hope you guys check that out. Robb, do you have any last minute things you want to say?
No, if you guys aren't in that $10 a month program, like, what are you doing with your life?
That's what we try to tell people. They don't, and then people get in there and they start hopping on the live calls with us. They're like, yo, Jordan, I actually like, because we just do a Zoom call and they can actually talk directly to me, which it makes it super easy to communicate. And so they're like, oh, cool, I get to ask you questions directly. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Just ask away. Yeah.
Dude,
so
I spend more than that on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, it's probably, I think it's $14.99 now.
Yeah.
So if you guys can afford Netflix, you can afford a mentorship program that will allow you to buy all the Netflix accounts you want.
Yeah, I was going to say, one's an asset, one is a liability.
Right, exactly. So again, Robb, thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight, man. We're going to get off of here for now. I'm sure we'll have Robb on again in the future, guys. This won't be the last time by any means. So again, make sure to check out his Art of Sales program. It is phenomenal. Make sure to visit his YouTube channel if you want more sales-related training. But that is it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to get out of here for now, and I will see you all next Thursday at 7:30 p.m. EST. But until next time, guys, Serial Entrepreneur out. Bye.
Later.